Well, good day, folks. You are at your webinar, What is PIM and Why Your E-Commerce Business Needs It? My name is Joe Walsh. I'm with Earley Information Science. Let's get started. As I mentioned, my name is Joe Walsh. I'll be your moderator today. And I am absolutely thrilled to be joined by two knockout speakers today who know a lot about product data and PIM technology. Chantel Schweizer of Earley Information Science and John Marcella of Jasper Commerce. Chantel, why don't you say hello to the group?
Hello, everybody. Chantel here. I have been in the data space for about 20 years, specializing in product data, and have been with EIS for about 6.5. And I've been recently named 2022's Taxonomy Practitioner of the Year from Taxonomy Bootcamp. So I am happy to be here and excited to talk to you all.
John, say hello.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is John Marcella. I'm the founder and CEO of Jasper Commerce. Our flagship product is Jasper PIM. I started in the industry 24 years ago, and the interactive agency space, systems integrator space, and we've developed a product information management solution as a means to an end for merchants. I'm very passionate about customers and helping merchants win in this space. And so I'm super excited to be here with Chantal and Joe. Looking forward to getting started.
24 years, John. That's a lot. I look forward to tapping into some of that knowledge today. A few housekeeping notes before we really dive in. We want to thank our media partners, CMS Wire and Marketing AI Institute, two wonderful resources. If you want to learn about things related to AI and customer experience, I highly recommend you visit their websites and jump in a little bit. We will record today's session. We'll disperse that post-webinar along with the presentation. We expect the session to go about an hour. We'll leave a little time for some Q&A. Along this presentation, please submit questions. We'll try our best to account for them at the end of the session. We're going to run a short poll, and we're curious to get some, just a little feedback on where you are in your PIM and product data maturation. So with that, I can quickly spray the agenda here. We'll give a little insight into our respective businesses, not too much there, but enough to give you a primer. Then we'll paint a picture on what PIM is. What is the current landscape of PIM? PIM is an acronym that's been around for some time, and I remember the days when it wasn't fully understood. I feel like that we've overcome that, and now it's kind of a household acronym inside business. We'll run our poll, then we'll get into the real meat of the webinar and talk about 6, big reasons why PIM will support your e-commerce business. We'll have a little QA session, and then we'll leave you with some goodie bags on how you might want to think about organizing your business around PIM and good data practices. First, a little bit about Earley Information Science. When people ask me about what we do, I tell them that we architect information for the digital enterprise. And what that means is we help companies with our methodology really develop good principles around organizing and optimizing information to bring into their business. And typically the results are they can sell more product, they can service their customers more efficiently, and they innovate faster. And as you can see, we've done that for a lot of, kind of big brands in industry. Now, in the context of today's webinar, I think it's important when we talk about PIM, we're talking primarily about product information. And the people I interact with day to day at EIS are folks like taxonomists, like Chantel, solution architects, data analysts. They're people that are really good at having a conversation in a business about product data. What do you call a product? How do you abbreviate it? What are some governance rules you put around your data set so that you don't break data and hurt that customer experience? Those are the practices we bring to a customer, and it works hand in hand with good technology. And in this case, a good technology partner in Jasper provides an elegant PIM solution that we'll talk more about. So I think hopefully that's a good segue, tells you a little bit about our business and why we work with folks like John.
Yeah, thanks very much, Joe, for that. And just to speak to the Jasper Commerce side, we're a product information management solution. We are a piece of software, but we're backed by technologists with years of experience from an original systems integration background. And so we work so well with teams like Earley Information Sciences because we provide an excellent product and platform and solution for you to maximize your business. But working with a team that can provide these very important data science services, it's a really good combination. So a little bit about Jasper. We were founded in 2010. We are a Canadian business, although we also do have a satellite office in Spain and growing in the EMEA region. Rated #1 PIM by Software World for a few years in a row. So that was very nice, and always humbled by those kinds of things. We are a global business and based on a global software as a service infrastructure, which means there's no software to download. Everything is done online. And also we serve the small, mid-market and enterprise space with solution that scales from sort of small needs all the way up to big enterprises, some of such great brands, multi-billion-dollar brands that we service. So very happy to get on and share more about PIM with everyone here.
Well, keep going, John. Give us sort of the basics. We should never assume that people know precisely what PIM does for business. So I think this is a great opportunity to kind of paint that picture.
Yes, that's very fair. As you mentioned in the very introduction here, Joe, is the fact that a PIM is still a very new acronym in the world and sphere of acronyms. Many people are familiar with content management systems and customer relationship systems such as Salesforce, but PIM is product information management, is the acronym expanded. Powerful, single source of truth that allows you to manage your product data in a very expert way and a very clean and efficient way. So the fundamental aspects, the business benefits of what a PIM can do for your business is at the very high end, at the very starting point, 30,000 feet up. It's a single source of truth that helps you centralize your product data and manage and control that information in one single place across your enterprise. Why that's important is it helps your staff members, whether you be small, medium, and especially if you're a very large enterprise, it helps all of your staff and team members, contractors, other stakeholders, even suppliers to come in with a focused view of your product information in a single place that has everything nicely organized and clean and ready for distribution and sales online. So a product information management tool, which is what Jasper PIM is as an example, is a tool that allows you to do just that. So when you streamline staff efforts, what this means is you can now have people managing things in a very powerful place in one single tool, rather than copying and pasting data from multiple spreadsheets. And maybe I have a marketing person that's getting content from WordPress somewhere and hacking and hand bombing data into Shopify or Salesforce Commerce Cloud. There's a million different reasons why you want all of your staff working in a single tool to help to really streamline and centralize that information. Automating workflows, this is a powerful aspect of product information management. And this is where now you can set rules that help you merchandise. We'll definitely talk more about each of these points momentarily. Syndicating your content, well, putting all your products in the PIM instead of putting it inside of your shopping platform or your ERP, your back office, your accounting platform, or instead of just putting it in a WordPress website that's maybe hosted by your IT department in someone's basement. You put it in the Jasper PIM, which is software as a service, and everyone can work from there. Once your products are in there, you want it to go somewhere, and that's what the syndication side is. This is where we're now publishing your content to multiple destinations. So stores that you sell online, point of sale solutions. If you're an omni-channel merchant and you sell an old world, just point of sale in the store, mobile, all kinds of other contexts like print catalogs, lookbooks, supplier feeds, there's a million things. Oh, and of course, marketplaces, Amazon, Walmart, some of your favorite ones, and maybe some smaller, more obscure ones, depending on what type of merchant you are. Those can be extremely valuable in helping you increase your sales. So can you increase sales with a PIM? Yes, you can. It's not just a piece of plumbing that helps you save time and money. Although in these dark times, saving time and money is also important. And so reducing errors, like dialing back issues amongst your own staff saves a substantial amount of time and you can pivot and vector some of your team's resources onto more meaningful tasks. So and we'll get more into the PIM helps you enrich your customer experience by simply virtue of having better quality data and what that can mean for your front end. And Chantal, I think we'll be talking about a lot about that. Finally, reaching new sales channels. It creates an opportunity. Once you have all of your data in one single place, you can now copy it and syndicate it automatically to multiple destinations. Many merchants we talk to are trying to do this by having people copy and paste amongst even 2 or 3 different stores. Imagine the problems you're going to have. That doesn't scale. But now you want to, like many of our customers have, publish to 15, 20 different channels, including marketplaces with all kinds of complexity. Not feasible to do that by hand. But now imagine being able to sell more in new geographies, in new contexts, for new demographics and new languages and currencies. You can do all of that with the product information management tool.
Thanks, John. I said at the outset that we would be doing a poll. So we've reached that point, and this is kind of a cool little spot in the presentation to get a sense of who's in the room and where they are in their journey, if they're on a journey. But our questions are, the question is, do you currently have a PIM? And you have a couple of options to choose there. 1, no, but PIM curious. 2, no, but in the market for one. 3, yes, but shopping for a new one. It happens. Sometimes you make a wrong decision at the outset. Number 4, yes, and we love it. If you're number 4, congratulations. And then number 5, I'm just here for the witty banner. We may come up short on that. I thought about asking John to sing the Canadian national anthem during this portion, but we'll give you a break.
Yeah, let us depress your expectations on the witty banter straight away. And there will be no singing of a Canadian national anthem.
Okay. We will spare you. Okay, we have some results here. So it looks like the winner is yes, and we love it. So congratulations to the folks that chose that one. Perhaps we can give you some additional ideas on how you improve the productivity out of your PIM and love it some more. So that's really good. We have a few that do not, but are curious. And we have a few that are shopping for a new PIM. So a good smattering across the board, a couple for witty banter. Hopefully we're doing okay in that category.
I might have to raise our bar a little bit. We'll get there.
We'll get there. We will. And I think that's a good segue because, Chantal, I think we need to bring you into the conversation here. So one of the big keys was how does a PIM help us with e-commerce, right? And the two are so interconnected. Why don't you give us some ideas on that? And I'll paint the screen here for you.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Yeah, it definitely helps a lot with profitability. When you're getting a PIM, you want to make sure you're going to have some level of ROI, a very robust ROI to justify the means of having that PIM in place. And there are a lot of reasons why to do this. You want your user experience to be absolutely awesome. And it's not going to be awesome unless your data is nice and clean that makes all those cool functionalities downstream actually work. Some of the numbers we've seen in some of our projects, we've seen a reduction in bounce rates by up to 25%, which is awesome. That's showing that we're reducing some of that customer frustration by having that clean data and a good taxonomy that is browsable. We've seen increase in click-through rates, even up to 40%, which is quite a huge boost. And we've seen category revenue growth. And this one's really speaking to that profitability piece. We've seen growth within categories up to 20% just by cleaning up the data and using a PIM to make it such. So how in the world do we do this? How do we get to these numbers? The first one is really looking at that data. We want that data to be beautiful. We want it to be clean and consistent, complete and clear. We want to understand what that data is used for. And if we have beautiful data, then we're going to have effective attribute facets. When you get down to a category, you want good facets with really clean filter values to be able to narrow down that product search to what you're really looking for. You can also have very clean product comparisons. You can't have if your products or your attributes aren't consistent across a category, then product comparisons are not going to work. And people want to be able to look at those products and understand which one really fits the bill appropriately for their problem. And it also makes effective search. If you want to be able to search for products, you have to have a great taxonomy and great attribution indexed, along with, of course, tagging and keywords to ensure that the product search is coming back with great recall and precision. So all of that is going to increase customer retention. We want those customers to come back again and again to the site and And if you have great data and a great find experience, then they will keep coming back to the site. Where conversely, if your data is horrible and they can't find anything on your site, they're going to go somewhere that really allows that to happen. We want to make sure that we have an inevitable taxonomy. We want to make sure people can find what they're looking for as fast and as efficiently as possible. So if we can get them to where they need to go quickly, we're not wasting any of their time, that's going to increase revenue because it's increasing the customer experience. Again, they're going to come back over and over again. And product relationships. Once you have product relationships in order, it really helps to increase your cart. If people can go to a product and see what are the required accessories, the optional accessories, the replacement parts, the substitute parts, all of these things are really going to help them find what they need. And not to mention, they're going to say, oh, hey, here's my iPhone. I need a case with that too, and a charger, and all these other things that might go with it. So it's definitely going to help increase the cart. And all of that has got a direct link to your e-commerce profitability. So definitely want to make that data and taxonomy beautiful.
Chantel, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Can you give us an example of a bounce rate? Is that simply when I search for a product and it's not there? Or maybe it's there, but I got routed improperly?
Sometimes it's searching for a product and not finding it. Sometimes it's getting to a PDP page and not seeing the data that you need, so you abandon the site entirely. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's pogo sticking throughout a taxonomy and not finding the category that you're looking for, so you give up. So any of those things can go straight to customer frustration. And once a customer gets frustrated, they're just going to throw up their arms and they're not going to want to be on the site any longer.
Thank you for that context. Moving along, assuming I can advance the slide, here we go. We're going to talk about centralizing consistent product data now. And John, I have a feeling this gets back to the single source of truth, which is a very common phrase we hear in the PIM circles. So I'd love to hear more on that.
Yeah, it definitely does. And before we get into sort of like the top three things that help you do, let's say, centralizing consistent data amongst your organization, how this ties into e-commerce profitability, as Chantal was talking about, a lot of the front side, the front office aspect is the consumer experience and not having bounce rates, not having a bad experience, getting really rich content onto your PDP, your product detail pages, and on your e-commerce stores. So how does it get there? It starts, first of all, before it even comes into the PIM itself, it starts with some really good data wrangling and management. And this is a place where many merchants that we work with really can benefit from services providers, because their product data is a disaster. It's a mess, and they need help. And if they really can understand that help is going to be massively, it's going to help them with profitability, as well as it will help them in general just get everything organized and get things fit for purpose and ready to put into a PIM, you're going to be off to a great start. Then you're ready to put everything into the Jasper product or any other product information management system, the one of your choosing. So the starting point is product import. It comes in, so that makes sense. We need to get products into the PIM, and that can happen a number of different ways. It can come from spreadsheets, which is what most merchants use today. So let's forget about your old spreadsheets. Let's put them in here once and for all. You can manually put products into a PIM. You can bring feeds in from another source. And you can bring them in from other systems as well. You can make connective bridges, as many enterprise merchants do. You can have a data flow from your ERP, which is your buyer system, and it can come into the PIM, because the PIM is really good for this next piece, enriching and enhancing the content. Once your products are in there, that's kind of boring. Your products are already somewhere else, but now it's in that single source of truth. As Joe was saying, that is important, because that's where everybody in your organization and stakeholders will go to actually use the product in a very intelligent way. So enriching and enhancing the product means it's pretty graphics and it's videos, but it's also marketing data, it's SEO content, but it's also multiple pricing books, attribution and taxonomies, different types of rule sets of data that will go for your main stores and maybe different language stores, or maybe you want to sell on Amazon. Maybe you already do and you want to manage it better. Maybe you aspire to and have no idea how to do that without copying and pasting stuff. Please don't copy and paste stuff. Get a PIM, get somebody's PIM, because it will help. It's massive. And then the final thing is, great. So you've enriched and enhanced your content. It's still in the silo. It's in the island of the PIM. But the PIM now is where you final stage is setting up the merchandising rules. This is where you define which product sets go where. So let's say you sell premium watches and you have about 1,000 of them that are particularly profitable, and you want to sell those on Amazon. You have the legal right to do so, but you have 5,000 products in total and 5,000 you want to sell on your main e-commerce US store. Great. Well, in the PIM, you can say, only take these products from these categories at these price points and discount these brands and include these extra fields and put them in this category at this price on a Tuesday for 3 weeks and then stop the whole campaign. You can do all of those merchandising rules in a PIM and set it and forget it. Now I don't have to set those rules anymore. Now the next time I go back into my PIM, or even more importantly, I set up those rules, but a more junior person came in and is now going to go and start cranking out like different content. So they put new pictures and they put like some new descriptions, and the PIM will automatically syndicate that to multiple channels. And without talking ahead of syndication, we'll get to that later. That's kind of like everything's centralized, cleaned, consistent, and ready to go.
I love the term data wrangling. It makes me think of us all as like cowgirl, cowboys, cow people trying to lasso our data and get it into the right, like a data silos or their own little pens. I love it.
Okay. So now that we've been cowgirls and cowboys, we've wrangled our data. We went through the time to, kind of structure, create baseline, good, well-intentioned data. We've imported it into the system. We've enriched it. We've associated images, flowery descriptions, and we're now sending it out to our merchants, and they're loving our data. We're doing really well in the PIM. But now what? Maybe I acquire a business and I have all this new data to onboard. Maybe there's a new channel I want to go after, and data is always changing. It's never the process is never complete. Am I right?
Yes.
Very, very
right.
true.
Okay, so we got this word governance. I have a feeling that's going to play a role in how we kind of keep things together here. And Chantal, why don't you help us there?
Certainly. Yeah, governance is extremely important when it comes to your data. We've helped a lot of people put together their governance programs to help them make sure that their data stays clean and is continuously getting better. And there are a lot of aspects to governance that are really important. You want to have a vision and a roadmap. What is your governance plan? Putting together a governance charter and strategy to make sure everybody is on board. You have to socialize it, make sure everybody understands what this governance program is used for. And part of that is having defined processes, your new item onboarding process, your taxonomy change management process, auditing processes, all these things to help make sure that you have a consistent way to do these exercises. Who is doing what and what system they're doing it in is really essential to make sure that governance is being used appropriately. Having centralized architectures, your taxonomies are going to be used for multiple things and having multiple purposes, but they should be those singular purposes that are going to be the focus of that taxonomy. So knowing that your attribution taxonomy is focused on organized and category specific attributes, where your display taxonomy is going to be focused on your e-commerce web store. And then your syndication taxonomies will be focused on how your data is going downstream to other channels. Understanding what those architectures are used for and mapping them appropriately will be very important for your governance. Having deep documentation, things like style guidelines to make sure your formatting rules are in place, additional documentation into processes to make sure people really understand what they're doing, and that governance charter as well, completely fully documented with all of your governance policies. So everybody knows what is what and what is expected of them. Metrics and scorecards, we love KPIs. What does your data fill look like? What are your category label average lengths? What is your taxonomy test success rates? There are a ton of different metrics out there. You got to choose some and get a scorecard. And this will help you both see where you can celebrate your wins and where you can have continuous improvement and make your data even more functional and lovely. Ubiquitous support, making sure that your governance is overarching. It is ever present throughout all of your processes and all of your data. People and expectations, who are the different roles? Who is your governor? Who is your admin? Who is your taxonomy team, the data stewards, and what's expected of them, using a RACI chart to put that in order. And then having integrated platforms with business side controls. So having DQ rules, that's data quality rules, to make sure that your data is continuously being cleansed. You can do it in a manual fashion too, but of course, automated is always nice to have. And really, when it comes down to governance, you have your 3 A's that really link up to governance success. Assignment, that's really understanding the accountability. Who's doing what? Attention, making sure that we celebrate those KPIs and are continuously looking at that dashboard to establish where things need to get fixed, and watching the the stream of data that is getting fixed, and automation. We always love automation. We want to make sure that we're using that to reduce costs, we're reducing the level of effort, and we're making sure that things like data quality rules, like onboarding processes, have a strong systematic backbone so that we're not doing these in a manual fashion. We can report on these continuously throughout the governance process. But governance doesn't always sound fun because it's a lot of rules, but it is so, so important. And you can make it fun. You can make fun titles like your taxonomy czar or something like that. You can make governance fun.
Who knew governance could be fun?
I'll make it fun.
Well, now, John, we've come around to that word you love, right? The word is syndication. Yes. And what I'm trying to discern if it's just a buzzword or if it's real, right? Because I've heard people describe it as, and this is machine to machine, from PIM right to another machine that sits in Amazon's data store and stuff's rolling. And I've heard people describe it as, well, we're going to do an export out of our system into a spreadsheet, and then we're going to email it to our channel partner, and then they're going to, force it into their system, right?
Yes.
So it's a wide spectrum there. So maybe you can put some context around what syndication is.
Sure thing. Starting in the reverse order of what you just said, many people are still doing everything manually in that fashion. Imagine all those failure points that you just identified and 50 million others that can happen in between. I want to talk about making mistakes and having unhappy customers, not to mention the fact that it doesn't scale at all, because once you, and that's fine maybe for 1 or 2 channels, but what if you want to sell to 50 channels or 100 channels? And there's a real exciting way that you can utilize some of these shopping platforms or other technologies. Another example would be like supplier feeds. Imagine being able to send out to suppliers or to select customer groups a curated list of only certain product data that you want. When we talk about syndication, it's not just publishing to your storefront or your point of sale or your Amazon or Walmart. It's to anything that you want to automate. Anytime something changes, the PIM then is, like you said, it was already set up to set it and forget it. Now you change content and it automates, and that automation is powerful because you have the ability to do what we call an inbound transformation, which is when you bring products into a PIM, you can write rules to transform the data as it comes in, meaning I can maybe take 3 fields and combine them into 1. I can deep duplicate. I can, I can add all kinds of other content, appendices. I can search and replace text, this kind of stuff, just to name simple things, but you can do a lot more complex stuff than that. Now, on the syndication side, a similar thing. Here's your PIM database in the diagram. And you've got this, the whole idea is real-time data transformation. So you've got rules that will transform the data on the way out. So in my junior data wrangler is going into the PIM and is updating 3 or 4 different facets and putting in some new graphics, maybe a text spec and a few other things that they want to push to the front end of their site. But they also want to put things in a new category. Well, that category is going to be new for Amazon, but it's not going to be new for another store. But we can also have the PIM then take data and take combining fields inside the PIM and publishing one single field out to your channels. You can imagine to scale how powerful that can be. One example that we have these little icons here. Imagine you have a US store, a Canadian store. Of course you have a Canadian store. You need a Canadian store. And then you have another brand, completely different branded website that, again, kind of only sells some of your inventory, not everything. Now, maybe 2 of these pull from a certain inventory warehouse in the States, and 1 pulls from a Canadian warehouse. You can set all those rules up in a PIM, and it will pull inventory and push them to the various channels all automatically. And imagine if that whole system is connected to your inventory management system. This is where things get exciting because Jasper and other PIM providers can help with that, and so can other data scientists such as Chantal, Joe, and team, because this is a big part of the other extra value proposition, particularly for enterprise merchants, where it's like, well, imagine being able to connect your PIM with other systems too. So syndication is not just to shopping destinations or feeds for your suppliers or others. It could be to other product information management systems or to your CRM, like your WordPress website. Imagine you have a WordPress website way over here. It represents a wee little brand, and you want 500 products to come from your PIM, and only these 500, and only if they're greater than $500. It's massive. I mean, the syndication side is super powerful, and I get ridiculously excited about this.
Keep the enthusiasm, John. That's great. So
Yeah.
all right, we are now we're really chugging in the PIM. We have enriched data that's, we have workflows running and people are really successful in the system every day. We're getting data out to our customers. We're now syndicating it. We've upped our game. And now the business is growing. Now we're going over the pond. We're going global, right? We're going to Europe.
Yeah.
But they speak a different language. They have a different native tongue. Can you help me, John?
Yes. And APIM really shines in this department, because now once you've done all the other homework and you've already got this glorious new sales channel set up, this is where the gravy really and the extra, candy on top of your ice cream sundae comes in, because many merchants will not even dream of setting up multi-language stores, not Googly translated automatically language stores, but rather stores that have been curated for a specific demographic. It's not just that they speak a different language, let's say in Japan or in even Spain. They're completely different cultures. And these are completely different ways that you want to market and present your content to these audiences. But in the end of the day, it's just one single SKU. It's the same product item. And you've already spent with your data scientist hours and hours getting the most beautiful curated content, thousands of attributes and facets into the PIM once. You don't want to do that again. All you need to do now is simply just set up some data translation, and this can be done manually. So someone within your translation team or an outsourced party can set up the translated content, but put them in the PIM in a single place. And once again, now this is where things get exciting. Imagine it's in English, that's the master language, and you want to set up this Japanese store or this Spanish store. Now you can set the content up, but it cascades from an inheritance model. And so some pieces of text don't actually need translation because they're technical, they're data, so they don't need to be translated. But if it does, you put the translation in. But it can also be connected to automated translation systems that are still human-based. And so imagine the power. Again, now these are generally more enterprise-esque features, just in terms of time and budget that you'll need, but it's ridiculously powerful. Many customers, for example, such as Skull Candy and others, they have the ability to publish to multiple languages. But it's not just that; it's that the way you lay out text and imagery, the sizing, the fonts, all of these things. Not from a design standpoint, but from a data management and a data modeling standpoint. What pieces of data show up where? Governance. In some regions, I can't show certain things. In some regions, I have to show certain things. All of those rules have been set up once to set and forget. So yes, it's not just language too, although we put that to simplify, it's also currencies. It's being able to, if I'm selling on a Canadian store, I should be in Canadian dollars. And so where do those Canadian prices come from? Certainly, hopefully not somebody hand-bombing Canadian prices, although we've seen that happen. So if that's all automated, that's all been put in the PIM. Nobody needs to worry about that. So very powerful tool to help you when you're ready to scale globally into other markets and market to them, their demographics with intention, not just, Google Translate and cross your fingers, hope it doesn't come out badly. Although the AI text is so awesome these days, isn't it? It's getting better all the time. Getting better all the time. But you're still going to need a human to pick that beautiful graphic and put it, well, maybe not for much longer. But for now, you're still going to need a PIM to help you with your language management.
Oh, for
Gracias,
sure.
John. Gracias.
De nada.
So here's another big, I won't even call this a buzzword, customer experience. I mean, I think this is very much a real thing. It's customer driven. I mean, heck, we even have folks in businesses with those words in their title now, right? So it's very real, and we should always be focused on the customer. And Chantal, you have some really, I think, tactical things that really are effective in working through a data set to make sure that the customer's experience is one that they want.
Oh, yeah, certainly. We want to make sure that we're not frustrating them. We want to make sure we're getting them where they need to go as fast as possible. We don't want to waste their time. And a lot of this is are things that we mentioned during that profitability slide, because it is such a key driver of profitability, is having a strong customer experience, making sure you understand what your customer is looking for and how they're going to shop for it. So part of this is increasing findability. That's a big piece of making sure that the customer is happy. We want to, again, follow those 4 C's: completeness, clarity, conciseness, and I forgot the 4th one. I just said it 5 seconds ago, but I already forgot it. But we want to make sure there's effective search and easy taxonomy. Getting to where they need to go as fast as possible, as easy as possible, is really important. And as we work with different clients and done a lot of different competitive benchmarking, where we've looked at different people in the field, we have found a lot of instances where their taxonomy or their data is messy, and we can certainly see where it's going to cause some frustration and issues when the customer comes to it. So in these examples we see on the right, and this first one, we see some overlapping categories. If you're shopping for crystals here, you're not going to know if you're going to go to crystals or if you're going to go to more crystals and oscillators. Which one is the right door for your product? So you're already causing frustration for your client here, because they're going down one door and possibly not finding their product and having to back up and coming down that other door. And then we can see here on the far right, this insulated bucket. This is a filter, but it doesn't have clean data. So it has a ton of duplicate values inside of that filter. And this is certainly something that could be taken care of with good governance. And then we want to go ahead for personalization, understanding who our customer personas are and what their journey is. How did different people shop for their products? For example, if you're going for school supplies, there's going to be a different experience for a teacher, a student, and a parent as to how they're going to shop for those school supplies and the specific data that is necessary for them to make a purchasing decision. So all of those things are key things to understand: what kind of filters are necessary and what kind of taxonomy is necessary. And then if you can take it up a level and you can personalize that browse experience to those personas, then you can really win the customer experience game. If you are a buyer rather than a chemist shopping on a chemical laboratory site, you're going to have a very different set of information that you're going to use to look for your products. And understanding that and being able to personalize that experience to those specific personas is huge. And if you can do that, it is a game changer. So highly recommend it. Understand your customer and make sure you're designing with them fully in mind. Very important for success.
Thanks, Chantel. I'm pretty sure that 4th C is not a diamond's carat weight.
It could be.
I would know nothing about that, by the way. Okay, we've reached that point, if I can advance the slide, where we will do some Q&A, and I do see some questions have come in.
Consistent. That's the other one. Consistent.
Consistent.
Good save. Excellent. Good save. Right on time. Right on time.
Just needed some more time. So here's a question from somebody in the audience. This has been a good technical overview, but as a layperson out there, what practical business benefits can I expect from implementing a PIM solution? So practical is the operative word there. Practical business benefits. Anybody want to jump in there?
Yeah, I'd love to. I mean, that's such a fantastic question. I think you can, as a merchant, you can expect to save significant cost and significant money through cost reduction. Many merchants can actually shed entire staff members, although it's an uncomfortable topic. These days, we're all concerned with saving time and money. And then shaving time off your smaller teams, getting them to pivot onto more meaningful tasks depending on the size of your business. Getting your products up faster, for example, speed to market is a practical benefit for sure. I mean, again, as we talked about with automation, with being able to manage the quality control in your single source of truth, you're going to be doing a better job of that than your competitors are. And getting a stronger handle on your inventory consistency too. When people think PIM, they think all the content and everything, but of course, inventory and pricing and all these other important topics are part of PIM. And so getting a better control of that is important across all your various channels. The more channels you have, the more you're really going to have a practical benefit of having a PIM. Although we've seen customers that only have 4 or 5, 6 product SKUs at a parent level, if you can imagine. but they syndicate and they publish to so many different places in so many different ways that there's still a practical benefit, because again, it's all automation and it's all that reduction of making less mistakes and being able to do things a lot faster. You will find yourself easily and painlessly opening up your data for widespread collaboration. This is huge amongst your own organization, but let's say it's only you and your sister and your grandma that work at your small shop. You have customers and you have suppliers, and you can provide them a view of your products that is unique and tailored to them, that they will be very thankful for. That is a massive benefit of a PIM. So I think that's key. And then some of the KPIs, and people ask us about this, what can I expect? Just broad strokes. Again, there's obviously ranges, but double-digit sales growth as a result of course, adding new channels. That's almost unfair. We help you sell in different places that you wouldn't sell before. But how about cost reduction? How about, and Chantal spoke to a lot of it just in terms of, better like reduction in bounce rates, just better overall ease of use and understanding of the content, happier customers, less returns, issues like that. So hopefully that kind of answers the question.
Thank you for that. Here's another question to the group. How long does a typical PIM solution take to implement?
Well, and maybe Chantal, you'll have an opinion as well, because so there's two perspectives, I guess. There's our part, we're the software piece, and the software piece in some ways can be the easier piece because we spin up an environment for you, and you could be ready within a day to be playing around with a PIM. We don't necessarily encourage merchants to do that straight away because PIM is complex. And of course, the first thing we need to do is you need to organize and prepare your products. And so doing that can take time, of course. But from the product standpoint, and just for some context to throw out some examples, we've had some very large merchants that have onboarded within 4 to 6 weeks. And this is bringing product in from, maybe it's another PIM, maybe it's an already relatively clean source, and they put it in the PIM, they create the rules, they create the setup, and then being able to connect to other channels is a relatively straightforward process, assuming the channel is built into the PIM. So you want to look at PIM that has good channel capability, as well as good ability to scale to more channels that aren't built in. And this is something that a good PIM will shine at, because we're going to find, and merchants often have channels they want to go to, and those channels are very bespoke. Oftentimes they're like, hey, we built a custom PIM 5 years ago, 6, 7, 8 years ago. We still need to use it for the next 5 years because my CTO says I have to. What can you do? Can we connect to it? Yes, you can connect to it if you've got a good PIM with a good API, and you're going to want to do those kinds of things. Now that's where things can get into the 3, 6, 9, 12-month range. So, but if you're a very small merchant, and all you really want to do is merchandise better, and you've got a single store and you don't have 7,000 SKUs that need all kinds of content curation and data science that Chantal and team can do, then you can get up on a PIM super, super fast within days or weeks. But I don't know, Chantal, just do you have any color there, and just in terms of average sizes and time to implement on your guys' side?
Yeah, when it comes to the data cleanup and to getting the data, the taxonomies, but there's a lot of it depends, which is, of course, the big consultant answers. It depends. Number one, do you already have an attribution taxonomy separate from a display taxonomy? Do you already have the data model set up appropriately for your information? And with data model, I mean, do you go from categories simply to SKUs, or are you going from categories to product to SKUs, or possibly category to brand or product family to product to SKUs? So do you have a single tier, 2-tier, 3-tier, multiple tier data model? Are you changing your data model as you're going into the new system? If you are pulling data from multiple sources, then you may have multiple taxonomies. So you have to get that centralized taxonomy and get all that data in from these different sources and map that in and normalize it. So there is a lot of aspects as to how the data, or how long it's going to take for that data to get into the PIM appropriately. When you're moving into a new house, you don't want to just pick everything up and take it over with you. You want to get rid of the junk. You want to organize while you're doing it. This is everything that's going into the kitchen. This is everything that's going into the master bedroom. Oh, I don't wear these clothes anymore. I haven't worn them in years. I'm getting rid of them. So you want to make sure that as you're moving into your new house, that you're organizing things, you're cleaning things up, you're making sure you're getting rid of the junk. And if you're moving, multiple households in together, then, sometimes you're going to have 3 couches when you only need 1. There's a lot of things to consider as you're moving into your PIM, what you're going to do with that data and how you're going to treat that data. And that can be anything from a 3-month project up to a year long, depending on how complex that data transformation is going to be.
That's good. Here's another question. This gets around to the investment piece. You can never get around this one, in these webinars, and that's important. I applaud the attendees. How much can I expect to budget for year one and each successive year to implement a PIM? And I think part of the answer is the complexity that we just discussed, or non-complexity, right? But maybe there's some standard, responses around the software piece, licensing, users, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm happy to lead out with that. Again, a great question. Not surprised that got answered. I'd actually been disappointed if someone didn't ask that already. And so brilliant. I mean, it is a fantastic question. I'm going to start with the enterprise side first, and then work my way down to the more transactional, like much smaller business. So there's more predictability, for example, of course, at the smaller end, but at enterprise, there's a lot of variation, and that's not just a cop out. There's so much that can go on, but software as a service has kind of like normalized, and stabilized pricing, at least from our perspective. And as we've been in the space for many years, we've seen downward pressure on pricing. We see very, very powerful PIMs for a very good price out of the box. And so what can you expect to pay on average for a very powerful enterprise PIM? And again, the easy answer is somewhere between 50 to 100,000 US a year in annual licensing costs. If you should be thinking that this is not something that is going to be user-based or GMV-based, in other words, it's not based on how much money your business makes. It is a flat and predictable fee that is a part of your overall e-commerce stack and infrastructure. We've worked in the systems integration space for so many years before becoming a PIM product company, and I've seen people invest millions and millions of dollars in their own PIM that they have to host and manage themselves. And don't do that, not now. I know why people did it 15 years ago, but now you want something awesome, but at a very, very sustainable price. And then so for year one, expect to add, from a software standpoint, from working with someone like Jasper, you can expect to add another 10 to 25 to maybe 50K of an upfront discovery fee that is in support of your data management. So working with your agency, working with your internal IT staff or other stakeholders over whatever period of time that could be. Maybe it's like we were talking about, 6 weeks, 30, 3 months, 6 months, so on and so forth. Depending on how big your project is, that's the part that gets highly variable. At least that's for the software side. If Chantal has any color on some of your project side, services side.
I think you pretty much covered that one. I've definitely seen pricing vary wildly depending on the PIM system. There are some very cost-effective PIMs, and there's some that are very expensive. And we can definitely help people out when it comes to going through that PIM selection process. We certainly have in the past, understanding what functionalities they all have, what is out of the box, what do they need to have customized and configured. We've definitely seen the whole run of the gamut when it comes to pricing. But I know for a fact, like Jasper's got a really great pricing structure.
Yeah, I think we do too. It sounds better when you say it. I just realized something. I forgot to answer the question on the SMB transactional side of this too. That is much more predictable. If you're a small merchant, you just need a PIM, and that can be set up for generally very low cost. But beware, there are free PIMs. And whenever we think free, we think we get what we pay for sometimes, because generally there is some considerations there in terms of scale in the longer tail and so on and so forth. And then if you're downloading a piece of software, well, it's still not really free if you got to host it yourself and pay for all that and deal with all the hair pulling out and managing all those things too. So, a really good solid PIM could still cost you $200, $500, $1,000, $2,000 a month. It really just depends on what kind of features you want and how much intelligence and how much additional support you want from your PIM provider, and also from your PIM-friendly providers and agencies that support all the other goodies around the product itself.
Okay. So it looks like the questions have stopped, and I feel like we covered some of the basic top-line stuff. So that was really constructive. I hope folks feel the same way. This brings us to the home stretch. We're basically going to tell you what's in the goodie bag when we send this presentation around. There's some really good resources that are provided from our business, EIS, and from John's business at Jasper. We encourage you to click on these links and learn more, read, respond if you're so compelled. And then also, if you're one of these folks that's thinking about getting started with improving your business through a PIM and good product data, Earley Information Science is running a little campaign right now where we'll do a 30-minute readiness assessment with you. And it's basically you block 30 minutes of your time, you'll interact with an EIS client partner, have a very structured dialogue about the quality of your product data right now, how, what the goals of your business are, and help you just baseline your product information and some good business logic around how you can compel others to come into the conversation. So that's a campaign that we're running now. I encourage you to sign on, and you really don't have much to lose there if you're just getting started in your journey. Lastly, this is a commercial from Earley Information Science. We do, our founder, Seth Earley, who's a thought leader in the AI space, has a podcast. I encourage you to go check it out on one of your apps and listen in. It's a kind of a friendly, non-threatening way to sort of ingest AI, which can be a kind of a scary topic to some, and just kind of get grounded in some of the basics there. And here's our contact information should you want to reach out. We thoroughly enjoyed our time with you. We hope you feel the same. John, Chantel, you want to say goodbye?
By all means, feel free to reach out. Would love to talk shop with anybody. Love geeking out about taxonomy.
And contact me if you want to talk about syndication or anything else e-commerce wise. Also been a real pleasure sharing with everyone today. Cheers.
Thank you all. Have a great day.